right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again, the Hot Tag Podcast, and once again we have another special guest. We got CZW owner and CZW Tournament of Death this weekend participant, DJ Hyde. How's it going, dude?
Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No problem. CZWrestling.com. Check it out, man. There's still tickets available. I'll be there this weekend, Saturday, 2 p.m. Why don't you go ahead and plug that away, man? Let people know what it's all about and where they can get tickets and check it out.
Well, as of this point, you can only get tickets at the door. We stopped selling tickets online usually the week of the show, just based on the amount of stuff that we get, and we can't really get them out to people.
Right.
But Tournament of Death is an experience. It is something that is unlike anything else out there in the world. And, to be there live is definitely an experience. It's not just a normal wrestling show. It's an event. If you're a hardcore deathmatch, crazy wrestling style fan, this is the show for you. And I can tell you, it is truly, like our catchphrase is, like nothing else. You will not see anything like this anywhere else in the world.
That's true, and I don't work for CZW, and I can co-sign. I was there last year for Tournament of Death, and man, it definitely is a different experience. When we had Matt Tremont on, I was telling Tremont it's like a wrestling version of Woodstock. You know, that's what it reminds me of, Tournament of Death.
Basically, that's actually how I explained it earlier today. I said to a guy who's never been to CZW Tournament of Death. He's been to a very few shows. And he's like, oh, I got to work that day. I would call out, but it's just another show. And I was like, no, it's not another show. I said, picture it if you like music and Woodstock was going on. And somebody said, hey, you can go to Woodstock. And you were like, nah, I want to go to work that day. Now, this is what that is. It is truly, like I said, it's an experience. There's no other shows that are like it anywhere in the world. There's nowhere that you can sit there and have this environment, or with these kind of fans. These fans are definitely some of the more unique people out there that will be showing up. They're deathmatch fans. They're passionate about hardcore wrestling. They love to see the blood and guts and the crazy stuff. And that's what the show's all about. It's all about taking it to the next level. It's the one time a year where, we just do everything we can to make them happy and just go in and go crazy and give them, that hardcore craziness. And you have 9 of the best guys in the world doing it this year. Some up-and-comers, some first-timers, and then some Tournament of Death former champions and greats. So it's definitely something that I would check out if you're a fan of that type of wrestling. And if you're not, it's still definitely a fun day. I mean, it is an outdoor event at the Ultraviolet Underground. We're going to have crazy stuff going on. We've had performers show up and do all kinds of fun things in years past. So it is definitely the Woodstock of wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. And CZW is actually returning. You guys did a show at the arena, CZW 16, which I was at, and we almost got snowed in, which actually added to it. I think it was a great time. But you guys are returning back to the 2300 arena, July 11th. Which arena do you prefer? Do you like the skate zone, or do you like doing it at the arena?
I mean, it depends on how you want me to look at it. If you want me to look at it as if I had a preference and said, hey, I could run a show and it wouldn't be, the promoter ended, I would go arena all day. The arena has something that not a lot of places have. And for CZW, and for me personally, I basically grew up in that building. I have, CZW's ran more shows in that building than anybody else. It was our home. Our dojo was there for years. It definitely means a lot to me on a personal end. And for CZW fans, that was our home. I mean, we did it all there. We were the company that was there forever. We were the company that was paying the bills. And then we were the company that closed it down when it closed down. Now that we've ran Skate Zone, I like Skate Zone a lot. But there's just something about the arena as a wrestler. As a promoter, though, I like Skate Zone 1,000 times better than I like the arena. There's no athletic commission in New Jersey. There are some laws, but there's no, you don't have to put up with a guy looking over your shoulder every 10 minutes. And, the people who run the arena have their own rules. Things have changed since we've been there last. It's definitely, not easy to do from the business side at the arena. It's probably about 5 times, about 4 times more the cost than it was when we were there 5 years ago. And that's a huge difference, you know, and you need a big crowd there just to make up that cost. They also cover the tickets now, and they do an upcharge of $5 on it for their own purposes. And as a promoter, I don't want to charge fans any more money than I have to, or any more money than I feel. So there is its ups and downs, but obviously, like, hey, you're a wrestling fan. The arena has alcohol, Skate Zone doesn't. So, you know, a lot of wrestling fans want to come. They want to get, you know, have a good time, have a few drinks with their buddies, and, you know, go out and do whatever they want to do. But both buildings have been really good to us, and you know, I actually think that we'll be running a third building in the area very soon, and you know, I can go into a little bit about that later. But you know, I think that the arena, it just has something that no other building has because it's the arena, and that's why we're going back July 11th for another doubleheader with WSU and CZW.
No, believe me, I completely understand. But you briefly mentioned like the regulations they have with the arena now. Is the rematch for Gulak and Nick Gage, is that going to still be an ultra-violent match?
I never announced it as an ultra-violent match. Nick Gage announced it as what he
Yeah, because I was at the show that he announced it as that. So I was under the impression that's
well, Nick Gage. Nick Gage wants everything he does to be ultra-violent.
Right.
The only thing I can tell fans, and I can tell you, is just wait to see what they do. I think Nick Gage and Drew Gulak have, you know, they have unsettled issues that could go on for quite some time. And, you know, things with those guys, specifically Nick Gage, maybe not Drew Gulak, but Nick Gage definitely, it can get ultra-violent at any time. I mean, look at how they started their last match. He just, you know, he kicked the ref and threw him out of the ring, and then just went into the crowd and did whatever he could to beat Drew up. And then he comes back and he enters into Drew Gulak's world of wrestling, where Drew is more of a wrestler-based kind of guy, and he started to do holds, and then the next thing you know, Drew Gulak's got the advantage. And, you know, I think Nicky realizes that. I think he realizes that, you know what, I'm just going to cut this dude's head off, because that's what I really want to do. As far as the building, yeah, they got their own rules. So, like, there are certain things they can't do anymore. And,
oh yeah,
you know, I'm gonna definitely test the waters, but I definitely want to give fans what they're there to pay for and what they want to see. And, you know, it's just Nick Gage's return to that building, and that's a pretty big deal to CZW fans and in wrestling. So, you know, Nick Gage is a pretty important player. Especially right now, he's popping up everywhere, and you know, it's going to be a crazy match, and we're just going to find out what's going to happen July 11th.
Most definitely, man. I'm certainly excited. Boxman, you got a question?
Yeah, kind of just wanted to ask you how it was working with Sami Callihan, who's now Solomon Crowe in NXT.
Are you asking me from a character perspective or as a real person?
We'll go ahead and go character perspective. How's that?
Oh, from a character perspective, you know, I give credit where credit's due. He's one of my greatest rivals. He's a person who pushed me to places where I didn't know I could take it. And, you know, there's a few guys that I've been in the ring with that, from the character perspective, that you know, take me to a point where I am willing to do pretty much anything. Sami, he just don't stop. You know, he's constantly coming at you. And he's just a guy that you just want to punch in the face. And, you know, from a character perspective, looking at it now and how I feel, you know, now that everything is passed on, you know, I give the credit where credit's due. He's one of the best in the world. But I've also beaten him many, many a time. So, you know, I don't know if that's going to be... You never know what can happen. You never know what happens in this world if DJ Hyde and Sami Callihan are going to meet again on whether it's in a CZW ring or in, you know, some other level. But
right.
Sami's a great talent, so I feel very honored. But if he shows up again, I'm sure the war is going to be on.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, you guys can check out if you're not going to be there in person, you can check the video out at streamczw.com the following day on Sunday. if you want to check that. And if you're in the area, check it out. Even just for the food. The food was great last time, man. Honestly, I think it's probably the best wrestling food
cooking,
that
yep.
Yeah.
So Fingers Chicken will be. That's what I think everybody. I don't know what's a bigger deal, that or the show sometimes, because like I've talked to some people who are like, yeah, so Fingers Cooking, right? I'm like, we have a food truck this year, but he's doing the chicken. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll be there. So I think some people are just coming for that.
Oh, I can understand why, man. It was amazing. Honestly, it was amazing. Correct me if
maybe I should get him to cook at every show.
Yeah, man.
It'd be great.
You start a restaurant, man. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you've been in the CZW ring wrestling in the last 5 or 6 months, right? Last time with Dickinson,
actually. I have not had a match since Cage of Death. I made my first appearance at Best of the Best where I presented the trophy and did the typical, owner things. On the last event, I did come out and make a few appearances on the show. A little too many for my liking, but Devin Moore called me out there, so I had to go out there. There's a changing with me, and I think it's prevalent from everything that I'm doing. I think it's prevalent that people are seeing a different side of DJ Hyde, and I think that my mind state is in a much different place than it was, back 6 months ago. And, everything changes for a reason, and I think it's time for DJ Hyde to do the same.
Definitely. So what can we expect from you this Saturday, man? Since it's been a couple months, you're going to be facing off against Wrench Connor Claxton, which is very underrated. We had that guy on the show, and he's awesome, man. And Nick Gage. So that's my favorite match on the card so far, man. That one's definitely going to be tremendous. What can we expect from you?
Well, I mean, if you want my opinion, you're going to expect to see me walk out with that trophy for a second time, and which fans will be able to get a clip of that on our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram within the next day of what the trophy looks like. It's a very unique design.
Nice.
So it should be up by tomorrow. That match alone, I'm in the ring with one of the guys that I've trained with Connor Claxton. He's brand new. He's one of my students. And we've had a few battles at Dojo Wars and a few other places within the CZW confines. But, Connor's he's the new hot guy. He is not afraid to die. He is not afraid of anything. And that makes him, to me, in a ring, dangerous. Because you never know, like a guy like that will keep coming. But when I look at things on the other side, I'm in there with a guy you're in there with the king of ultra violence, Nick Gage. I mean, he's the man. He is unpredictable, crazy. He's a lunatic, basically. This is his realm. This is what he does. And we have fans bring the weapons, and you never know what unique things people are going to bring. So that match, to me, is very unpredictable. And for me, my goal with it is to go in there, hit a lariat, get the 1, 2, 3, and get on to the next round and do the same as fast and as easily as possible. On top of that, I want to give the fans a great show. They're coming to see Nick Gage. They're coming to see DJ Hyde. I'm going to give them everything that they ever wanted. There's a lot of young faces in this tournament. Connor Claxton is a star in the making, at least I believe so. And, this is a time for those guys. Nick Gage is back. He's got something to prove. Connor Claxton's a new guy. He's got to make his stamp in this business. This is the spot for them. But for me, personally, there's a chance. As I said, there's a changing for me. And I got to go out there and I got to prove I'm one of the baddest men on this planet, man. You put me in that ring, whether it's, a regular wrestling match, strong style, lucha, I don't care. I can do it all. But I've won that tournament before. Might not have been in the tournament, might have been at the next show because some things happened, but I walked out with that trophy. And I fully plan on doing it again this Saturday.
Absolutely, man. Anybody that can take the skewers from MASADA, I highly respect.
Well, I've had skewers, I've had syringes stuck in my body. I've taken a brick to the face. I've wrestled every fire, you name it, we've done it. I've done matches that haven't been duplicated. It seems to be like one of the things that always happens with me is there's always something that DJ Hyde does that steps up that other people are not willing to do. You know, I mean, I took 3 weed whacker shots in a match. I haven't seen anybody do that yet. You know, it's you know, and that's like the worst pain ever. You know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like one of them is bad, and then to get up and then take 2 at the same time, it's like you're on fire inside, and then when the air hits you, it's like your skin is melting away. It makes me think of a scene from like Terminator when people's faces are burning off. That's how it feels, and it doesn't go away like, you know, quickly. It's not something that's just like, oh, it hurts for a second, and like, oh, okay, I'm over it. No, it lasts for days on it, and you're just sitting there like, oh, it's so bad. You know, it's one of those things, and you know, I fully, if that happens again and the opportunity presents itself, you know, I'll step up again. You know, it's what I do best. It's what I'm probably most known for. That and being the guy everybody hates. So, you know, it's tournament of death, and you know, I'm ready to face all challenges.
Definitely, man. Yeah, we actually had Sick Nick Mondo on the show 2 weeks ago, and he said the weed whacker was probably the worst, most painful experience he ever had in his life, and I can imagine.
And he's only taken it once. I took it 3 times in one match, and I've taken it 7 times. You know.
Oh,
wow, man.
I've taken it in CZW 5 times, and I kind of keep saying I'm never going to do that again. And somehow somebody ends up hitting me with a weed whacker. You know, when it's like there's some crazy. You never know. There might be one. Nick Gage might break out one.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. And you know, it wouldn't surprise me if he pulls out a pizza cutter and tries to cut my head off, you know, or Connors or somebody.
Yeah, nothing surprises me.
Hey, nothing surprises me either. But at the end of the day, if I hit him with that lariat, you know, he ain't getting back up. I've proven that before with Nick Gage, and I'll prove it again if I need to.
There you go, man. He's down for the count if you hit him with that, right? Boxman, you got another question?
Yeah, you know, since you brought up MASADA, we recently had him on the show, and mentioned there was a few issues with him and CZW. Is there any chance of him coming back to CZW?
I hope so. I know, I mean, his issues are mainly personal issues. They're not really business things.
Okay.
Some of them are, you know, before he was definitely a local guy and made it a little easier on us. Now, obviously, financially, there's a greater risk with bringing MASADA in. But I hope MASADA comes back. To be honest with you, I fully actually plan on reaching out to him recently and saying, hey, man, we'd like to have you back here. And if he's listening to this or any fans out there, you know, hear this interview, just, you know, let him know DJ Hyde wants him back. And, you know, I think his issues are personal. I think he, you know, and I understand where he comes from, but he doesn't understand the business side of it. At the end of the day, you know, I'm not going to do decisions that everybody likes all the time, you know, and I don't care if this guy doesn't like that guy or like that means nothing on a business level. Right. On a personal level, MASADA's like, I love the guy, man. We're family, we're brothers, you know, and brothers fight sometimes. And it's not just me, but there's other people, you know, that he has issues with that are within the company. But I fully hope to see MASADA back before the end of the year. And now that he's, you know, got himself taken care of down in Texas, you know, brand new wife, and he's got good things going on down there, hopefully we can, you know, get him back up here in the combat zone, back to his family very soon.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Shaheen, you still there?
Yes, I was on mute for 1 second.
Oh, okay. But, I'm like, did you leave?
Hey, last tournament of death, you brought in Aeroboy, you brought in, you know, Jackie, you brought in, you know, Jun Kasai and all the Japanese guys from Big Japan and you know, of course, Aeroboy. Any chance of ever seeing international guys again? Was that considered a success in your opinion? Because I certainly enjoyed it.
We pretty much brought in international. I mean, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've always had. Yeah, I mean, we've always had an international guy, Kobayashi, or Numazawa's been there a couple times, Takeda, Tsukamoto. This year just didn't work out, and you know, I mean, you'll probably see more. I mean, you constantly see an influx of international talent come through CZW, whether it's guys from Europe, guys from WXW in Germany, guys from Big Japan, guys from Mexico. You know, it's just all about business and what we're doing, and I hope that we can get them. I mean, last year I kind of went a little crazy with it because we had 5 international talents.
Right.
And, this year I kind of, I held the reins back. And a big part of that is because of scheduling and finances and things along those lines. I mean, like I said, like, when you're running a building in July that is 4 times what you used to pay for it, and, the Young Bucks are coming in, and you have a lot of other big plans, you can't invest as much as you'd like to bring in a Jun Kasai, or to bring in a new Misawa, or an Araji Ito, or one of the guys from Big Japan, or maybe someone from Mexico. I know that there's some people in Mexico that we've talked about bringing back up. I know Aeroboy is definitely one of them, and he definitely wants to come back in. I talk to him quite frequently, and I'd love to have any of them back. But sometimes, like I said, it's just business. I think the lineup this year is very, very strong. There's obviously it may not be the strongest because you have a lot of guys. If this is their first TOE, this is maybe the first experience that they're going to have. But you got Matt Tremont, you got DJ Hyde, you got Nick Gage, you got Danny Havoc. Right there, that's enough of some of the top deathmatch wrestlers in the world to carry that. And on top of that, you got great non-tourney action. Devin Moore, he's wrestling Dave Christ in a scaffold match. I mean, if you watch Devin Moore, you already know that the scaffold match that's his match. And Dave Christ is, stepping it up. I mean, all the guys out in Ohio and out in the Midwest, they know about Ohio is for Killers and how those guys do it, and they'll just go in, And then you got Eric Ryan, who's really been making a buzz out in the Midwest also, another Ohio guy in OI 4K, taking on, the Nation of Intoxications, Lucky 13, and Lucky always comes up with some unique match. They're doing ladders, orange sacks, and Legos. He said, it's an LOL match. He started laughing at me, and I said, okay, that's what you're going to do. And he's like, I'm just going to take oranges and beat him upside the head. I'm going to love it. It's going to be great. And, I spoke to Eric, and Eric said, he's like, yo, you ever step on a Lego? I was like, yeah. He goes, they hurt, man. He's like, they hurt. He goes, just imagine what happens when I suplex him on it. And I was like, hey, I've been in Lego death matches. I know they suck, and these are also 2 guys that, they're willing to high fly. So ladders come perfectly into play, and it just makes sense. And it's right up their alley, And then you also got some of the new guys that are this is the first tournament of death. I mean, Connor Claxton, we've talked a little bit about him already. He's star in the making. He's not afraid to die. I mean, and I think this is going to be the show where you really see Connor Claxton in a different light. And then you got, Jake Christ, OI 4K. If people watch the few death matches that he's done with myself and Ron Mathis, Ron Mathis and him have toured up out in Ohio at Rockstar Pro, which is one of our affiliates. Right. Me and him have brought down the house. No rope barbed wire matches. I mean, Jake is willing to step it up, and he's the leader of OI 4K. He's the big brother, and it's going to be definitely a unique challenge for him. Then you got Ron Mathis, Tournament of Death veteran, been in Cage of Death. He's already won a deathmatch tournament this year at Masters of Pain. I mean, his street cred speaks for itself. And then you got Josh Crane. Josh Crane, Drake Younger's protege. Drake Younger's deathmatch student. I mean, that right there, especially in CZW, but not just CZW, all of independent wrestling, has to carry a lot of weight. And Josh just proves, that, he lives up to the Psycho Shooter's reputation. And then last but not least, you got Ricky Shane Page. He's a guy out of AIW, been making a lot of waves. He's been trying to make a name to get into CZW for a long time, and he's got some buzz going on. And I think he's got a lot to prove. So, I mean, right there, you've definitely got the next generation and the guys that are the current now guys. And I think some people were a little disappointed because guys like, the Necro Butcher or Corporal Robinson or whatever, those guys were making names 10 years ago, man. Like, nothing against those guys, but this is the future group. This is the group that's going to, they're going to sustain wrestling in the deathmatch area for, years to come. You're going to be seeing their names all over the place. They're going to be winning the tournaments. They're going to be some of the best.
Yeah, definitely. We had actually Josh Crane on earlier tonight, and I couldn't believe he's only 20 years of age. And, Connor Claxton, as you said, he's a natural because he said he wasn't a big fan of wrestling growing up. But, I mean, he's just a natural. You wouldn't be able to tell.
Well, I mean, Connor Claxton is, once he got in that ring, he didn't look back. And I think that Connor's got, there's a huge upside, not just in deathmatch wrestling, but as a wrestler in general. You know, Connor, you know, he's found his niche, he's found that love, and I think he's going to do quite well.
Definitely. Boxman, you got another question?
Yeah. Do you think that CZW would still be around today if you didn't come in and invest in it?
If I didn't come in and take it over?
Right.
You know, that's a thought I never really had, but off the top of my head, I would say yeah, and I would tell you why. Because the boys there, the guys there, for me, even guys like MASADA, who's currently not there, guys like Devin Moore, to Danny Haddock, to Nick Gage, to Drew Gulak, to Black Cheese, you know, we wouldn't let it die. We wouldn't let it happen. And I think that it's become, you know, more of a success, and that it's taking on, you know, what we've accomplished in my tenure as the owner is quite frankly extraordinary if you really think about the things that we've done. You know, I think the boys would have got together. We would have found a way to make it work. And we would have found a way to make it successful. I think, you know, with me at the helm, there's been good and bad. I've not always made the right decisions all the time, you know, and especially when I first took over, and some of the shortcomings of Zandig and some of the shortcomings of when I originally took over come back to haunt me at times. You know, we do have a stigma of all we do is deathmatch wrestling, and that, you know, every match has light tubes and barbed wire, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, we're the company that creates stars, flat out. You know, the biggest stars in wrestling in the indies, you know, they're made in CZW. You know, most of the bigger companies that are on the indies are made in CZW. If you look at, you know, NXT, you know, we were NXT before NXT, because like a third of that roster, and most of the guys that are now on the main stage are all CZW guys. And I mean, they're guys that like literally bled yellow and black. Guys from Kevin Owens to Dean Ambrose to Solomon Crowe to Kalisto to Luke Harper. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, it's one of those things that I think that it's really an anomaly, and I think we'd still be around. I don't know if we'd still be in the positions where we are currently, but I think it would still be going on because the boys would have stepped up. If somebody would have stepped up and took the reins, and I was the guy who did it at the time, and I am the guy who's leading CZW into the future.
Yeah, but I think it was definitely a good transition under the, you know, change of ownership, because, you know, you carried on the good and you kind of disposed of some of the, you know, quote unquote taboos as far as, you know, every match had to have light tubes and all that stuff. But at the same time, you're still giving like the bloodthirsty deathmatch fans enough to still be invested in the product and keep it fresh. But you know, you mentioned you know, new talent. You know, half of NXT and the WWE CZW guys, which is definitely true. I think CZW and, you know, also Jersey All Pro are two of the promotions that really pushed out a lot of those talents that are underrated and don't really get as much credit as, you know, no offense to Ring of Honor, but as much as they do, because CZW, you guys put out just as much as Ring of Honor. But you know, a couple guys that are coming up.
I think that, like, if you look at just the last tryout that happened for WWE, and you got guys like Drew Gulak, guys like Big Music, Chuck Taylor, Rex Lawless, you know, even girls like Athena and Jessica Havoc, because I do also own WSU, you know, they're my girls. They're my guys. They're the guys that were down there leading the forefront. You know, they're people that are all here. And, you know, Drew Gulak's one of the trainers at the dojo. And, you know, for a guy like that to come down there and you know, guys like Rex Lawless is, you know, he's under our wing now. He's on a few CZW shows now. And he's coming down and doing Dojo Wars for years. These guys are like, there's something special about this company, and it's something that people are starting to take notice. I think they take notice of Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor has something we don't have. They have a lot of money. They have big backing. You know, if Fox 45, you know, owns CZW, you know, it's Fox, man. Like, I mean, they make motion pictures that are billions of dollars. Like, you know, they have television coverage. They have things that we don't have access to financially that, you know, we're working towards, but they just haven't. They bought a product and said, okay, we got this. We're going to make this product back. The same thing like when Kerry Silkin took over ROH, Kerry had money. You know, I'm not very well off. You know, I'm a professional wrestler for a living. That's what I've done for, you know, quite a long time. And, you know, it's just a different animal. You know, but if you gave me that kind of backing, man, I could take CZW a lot of places. I could do a lot more shows. I would show people that are the people that don't believe in what we do and who we are, that, look, you're missing the boat. You hear this, but that's not who we are. I could show them you know, the true colors of CZW. Yes, we do Tournament of Death, but we also do Best of the Best. You know, yes, we do have Nick Gage, but we have Drew Gulak. Yes, we have Matt Tremont, but we have Black G. You know, we have Air Fox. We have Mike Bailey. We have Team Tremendous, the Beaver Boys. You know, we're never going to get credit for those guys. And really giving them the platform to get themselves everywhere else, from the Ring of Honors to the BWGs. You know what I'm saying? The guys that kind of like, their style has always been there. And, you know, it's also why you'll see like guys like Drew Gulak have stepped up and been in the cage again. You know, it's been Busig, Black Cheese, Sojos, these guys. And you're not going to see guys like that anywhere else. You're going to see them right here in the Gauntlet.
Yeah, definitely. And you're currently working with like the next generation. You know, of course, you mentioned Mike Bailey. That guy is, you know, tremendous. Trevor Lee, another guy that I think he's one of those guys that are just going to bloom in the next couple of years, if not in this year. Andrew Everett, you know, JT Dunn, Team Tremendous, of course, you said. But there's also been some rumors about CZW possibly joining TNA, WWE, and Ring of Honor on pay-per-view for the next Cage of Death. Is there any truth to those rumors?
Did you say for Cage of Death?
Yeah, that's came out.
I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. I will tell you that, you know, it's kind of out there that is a possibility. And I would tell you that I would expect it before Cage of Death.
Nice.
All right.
We do some very big events that aren't Cage of Death. But I will say, if you show up July 11th, I'll be announcing something. That's what I'll tell you.
I'll be there.
So I'll have a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes people don't know about. And some stuff I can talk about on the show if you guys would like, and some stuff that, you know, I prefer not. But pay-per-view is something that, you know, it's out there. And all I can say is, fans, show up July 11th and hear what I have to say.
Definitely, man. Boxman, any last questions?
He actually answered my last question in the other question, so I'm not gonna ask it.
All right. Well, I got another question for you, man. John Wayne Murdoch. He was trying to get in the Tournament of Death, and he recently kind of cut like a shoot promo on you and kind of challenging CZW and yourself. Any thoughts? Any comments on that?
You know, John, I'm not gonna doubt his talents. I heard about it. I saw it on one of the social media sites, Twitter or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'll talk to you about this as character here, as DJ Hyde's character. As far as John goes, listen, man, I understand you're a very talented guy. You're getting over out there, and you're just not here. And this is where he wants to be. And everybody wants to be in Tournament of Death. I get that. I'll never doubt his talent and never say that, you know, he's a bad wrestler. Because to be honest with you, you know, I've never heard too many bad things about him. But I haven't really heard a lot about him at all. You know, I know he's a Midwest guy, and I kind of know, like, he's a deathmatch guy, and that's about it. But you know, if you're a little bitter about things and a little butthole hurt, you don't call out someone like me. You don't put me on blast. Because first off, you're not just going to piss me off. Because once you bring up, like, talk bad about me all day, I don't care. Because that'll just piss me off. But once you bring up those three letters CZW, all right, and you start talking about that company like that, because I've gotten phone calls from the wrestlers going, yo, you want me to handle this boy? Because they will handle you, John. They will come out to the Midwest, and there are people out there, they won't just, they'll permanently handle it. Now me, you want to call me out? I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my conviction. All right? I think people notice when I say I'm going to do something, it happens. When I've announced something, every time I've made an announcement, every time I've said, this is going to happen, whether it's as a boss or as a wrestler, it happens. And if you want to call me out and say you're going to stomp a mud hole through me and your little friend, Reed Bentley, right, isn't that his name? By God, something, God, whatever it is, I can't remember. But if he wants to call me out, listen, man, I'm in the Midwest a lot. I wrestle out there all the time. I have no problem showing up out there at the Coliseum and laying your head off. I have no problem doing that. But let me give you some veteran advice. Pissing off a guy like me and a guy as good as me, and a guy that will do what I will do, and a guy that has as much, I don't know, influence in wrestling, and that has CZW behind him, calling me out and pissing me off, not a good idea. And fans, if John wants me, he knows where I'm at, but if he keeps running his mouth, I might not be the first one to shut it, but I'll gladly be the guy standing over him when I lay it in his face.
There you go.
That's pretty much about all I have to say. Because if John calls me out, keep running your mouth, boy. I'll show up. I have no problem coming out there. Or if you want to come out here, tournament down to Saturday, feel free. The offer's there. You know? But if not, I will gladly come out there. Those fans you talked in front of, I will show them what we are all about, and they won't be chanting for you anymore. And this isn't like me trying to be the bad guy or cutting some like DJ Hyde, the bad guy, and he's a heel. No. You call me out as a man, I will come out there and I will punch you in the face. All right? And I respect your talent. I give you credit where credit's due, but you're not me. You don't know about me. You just want to be where I have been. You want to walk where I've walked, and I get that. But calling me out, trying to make a name on me, I will lariat you down, and you will not get back up.
There you go.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant there on your show.
No.
Well
there you
said.
go. You heard it right here on the Hot Tag Podcast. First
That's
right here.
it.
DJ
Yeah,
Hyde.
you know, when people call me out, man. If somebody calls you out, what are you going to do? You know,
Same
it's
thing.
wrestling.
Absolutely.
It's wrestling. You call me out, dude. Don't think I won't show up at your house and fight you. If the Coliseum's your house, yo, please, I'll show up. I'll bring CZW with me, and those people who don't know who we are will know when I leave. And that's not me being a bad guy. It's not me trying to be the heel or whatever. That's just a fact. And that's just how it's going to be. And at the end of the day, yo, I get it, man. The kid's trying to make a name, man. I can appreciate that, but you ain't going to make it on me.
Absolutely, man. I hear you, man. I can't agree with you more. But one last question since we got you in the hot seat. We had Chris Dickinson on the show.
You got me all day. I'm all day. Chris Dickinson, Dirty Daddy.
Dirty Daddy, there you go, man. We had him on the show, and of course, you know, I was at the show with CZW 16 where he kind of flipped out and threw chairs around and all that stuff, and you know, he basically said that you guys, you know, mutually kind of departed. So what happened, basically? And he said, you know, he was supposed to get the belt that night, and apparently, you know, I guess the crowd wasn't reacting to it. Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't know about that. We did mutually, you know, Chris thought it was best that he take some time away, and you know, you brought up, you know, there's some issues with Boog and Chris. You brought up MASADA, you know, there's an issue there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, and Chris has done some things in the company. Chris is kind of a recluse. You know, he kind of thinks he can come and go and do what he wants, and if it works, it works, and he's like, it's over. But that's not how it works. At the end of the day, I'm the boss. You know, you know, I've spoken character, you know, about John Wayne Murdoch and a few other things, but as the owner, as the booker, as the guy who is behind the scenes pulling the strings and doing this, yo, man, you only get so many chances with me. And at that point, like, I'm a nice guy, and I'm friends with Chris. I love Chris Dickinson. I would call him family. Like, I think he's a good dude, you know, but he's a psycho. He's got, you know, his own, like, he's crazy, man. And I think people see that in the ring. You know, he's the Dirty Daddy. And when the Dirty Daddy goes off script and the Dirty Daddy goes into business for himself, he's going to piss off the boss. You know, everybody knows that. You got a boss. Everybody at home's got a boss that's listening. If you got a job, you got to answer to somebody. If you ain't got a job, there's still somebody you got to answer to. Whether it's your wife, your mom, your girlfriend, it doesn't matter. You know, your dad, you got to answer to somebody. And when you mess up, things happen. As far as him getting the belt, that was not a plan. I don't know where that came from, but
Yeah.
you know, I think Chris was just in a weird place. He was going through some stuff personally, you know, and like, I think, you know, that was his first real opportunity in that building, which is important. Like, when you run the ECW arena, like, if they're left none off to be there. They will. You don't understand. Like, as a wrestler, and somebody who's been wrestling in that building for, you know, almost a decade and a half at this point, it's an important to me personally. It's like guys in the wrestling business, always have that dream of main event in Madison Square Garden because that's important to you. And that was Chris's first show, and he's in there with a guy like Gage, super talented, and the crowd there is, the CZW crowd is the toughest crowd in America. I mean, not in America, probably the world. They are vicious. They are the crowd. If you get over there, you become a star. Okay? And that arena crowd takes it to another level. The CZW crowd normally is vicious. In that arena, they are very vicious. They are the best and worst at the same time. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think Chris kind of felt like, all right, I'm pretty over now. The crowd's behind me, and like I'm the man, and I'm the guy who's I'm the main event, and blah 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 blah. And then the crowd just completely turned on him there. And
yeah.
I don't think he mentally knew how to take it. And he kind of had a breakdown that night. And you were there. You saw what happened. And,
right.
And Chris is, he's a talented wrestler. I mean, guy's amazing. Super talented. That's why he's in CZW in the first place. But, and it's just one of those things where I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking about it as I'm talking, and I'm going, it just didn't work out. And business-wise, it didn't work out. You can't go, you can't do that stuff, man. And like, there had to be some ramification. There had to be some form of, punishment. And I can only give guys so many opportunities, man. And like I said, he already has some personal issues and things that he's created with some of the other, and that doesn't mean anything business-wise, but it does to some people. And that's something that as a promoter and as an owner and a booker, and as guys that I care about them, I'm their friend, I have to look at it, because sometimes I got to play both ends of the field. And it sucks, because like Chris Dickinson, he left before for a while because of stuff. And then the crowd wanted him back. The fans are the ones that brought him back the first time.
Yeah.
This time, it was just like, hey, man, like, it is what it is, And, if Chris comes back to CZW in the future, I'd be more than open to it, But after having, several discussions about it, it was felt that it was time for Chris to take some time away. And to be honest with you, CZW hasn't missed a beat, and I don't think Chris has either. His name's popped up a lot of places. I think he's probably wrestled Samoa Joe in the last month more than anybody, has in the last, 10 years.
Yeah.
He's got a good thing going, and I'm super proud of him, super great talent. But again, on the outside of things, there's a lot of people in that ring that are amazing, but sometimes their outside activities, affect business. And that's happened in CZW a lot lately. And at times I can only turn a blind eye for so long. And then once it becomes a public thing and you make it a public thing, now I got to handle it. And that's a tough thing for me to do. But, talking to Chris, we felt, best that it was like, all right, look, I'm going to take some time away. And again, the door's open. If at some point in the future we feel it's good that we can work together again, or that, he wants to be here and I need him here, Chris Dickinson will be here. But as of right now, that's just not happening.
Definitely, man. Well, hey, once again, let's talk about Tournament of Death for 1 second before we let you go. It is this weekend, this Saturday, June 13th, and it's going to be in Townsend, Delaware. You can still purchase tickets, just arrive there, and it's going to be at 2 p.m. Let's talk about also any other stuff you want to plug?
I mean, you can follow us on the social media. You can follow me at DJ Hyde_1 on Twitter and Instagram, and at DJ Hyde1 on Facebook. But follow Combat Zone and WSU, at WSU Wrestling, Twitter, Instagram, as well as WSU on Facebook, and at Combat Zone on Twitter, Instagram. There's actually one other thing I do want to talk about, if you guys would give me a little bit of time.
Sure.
That I think I really want people to check out. That I'll be announcing this Saturday at Tournament of Death. So CZW is started our own kind of network, and that is going to be happening very shortly. We are doing a very soft launch with it with CZW and WSU, where you'll be able to get a subscription site as well as VODs, digital downloads. And by next year, we'll be doing all of our shows live at a new website that we've created called CZW Studios. It's official content. We're going to be filming content specifically for that, Black Jesus shoot interviews up there. Very soon, Matt Tremont's documentary will be up there within the next 30 days. We're going to be filming a documentary on Tournament of Death. It's going to be airing there. And hopefully by July, when we officially do the launch, you will be able to get every WSU show in history, as well as every CZW show on there for $9.99 a month. $10 a month. You can watch everything at your whim, all platforms, Apple, Android, cell phone, your computer, smart TVs, you name it, you'll be able to get it. Or if you just want to digitally download it, it's there. If you just want to watch one show, it's going to be there. And literally, very shortly, within the next year, we're going to have our live iPay-per-views there, every single show, and you'll be getting that as part of the deal. But if you sign up now, we're going to be, if you go on there and check it out, it's something you're definitely going to be into. TOD is going to be up there for $10, $9.99. You're going to get that, and every TOD in history after this weekend, come Sunday, they'll be all there. As well as I think we have 47 WSU shows already up, and about 30 of the CZW shows, as well as every TOD will be there. Every Cage of Death will be there, and that's just going to be for the soft launch. Check it out at czwstudios.com. I'm looking forward to that. You'll be hearing a lot about that starting next week. It's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be something that's going to be the future of the combat center.
Man, that's awesome. Really, congratulations to you guys.
We have
man.
our own network. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. We're talking about doing podcasts on there. We're going to do all kinds of things. And for $10 a month, you can't beat it, man. Especially if you're a fan of WSU or CZW. CZW Studios, we're going to film original content, shoot interviews. We're going to have all kinds of documentaries that we're going to be doing on guys, as well as things like Tournament of Death, road trips. We got stupid amount of ideas, Also, check out Dojo Wars. You can't beat it. CZW's developmental program. It's taking all of the CZW Wrestling Academies. Come in for a tryout, Blackwood, New Jersey. Tryouts are absolutely free. With Dojo Wars, you can find it at the CZW YouTube for 100% free. Watch the future of pro wrestling for every Wednesday. $5. I came from there tonight. I watched Connor Claxton take on Joe Gacy. In the main event, you see great talents like Brittany Blake, Penelope Ford, George Gatton, as well as talents like a Rex Laws, a Joey Janela. There's always guys there. You never know who's going to show up. We've had special guests from Homicide, the Joker, you name it, guys are showing up there, and it's a great environment. $5, you can't beat it on a Wednesday night. And, it's just check out the future of wrestling. It's right there. And, guys, that's about all I really have to plug. But, you can buy the pay-per-view right now or catch up, on everything on CZW at all of our vendors, smartmarkvideo.com, highspots.com. Check out everything there, or just go to czwrestling.com and you can get everything. CZW and WSU right there.
Oh, man, I gotta be honest. I didn't expect that, man. Look at you, man. You're turning into an entrepreneur right in front of us, man. That's crazy.
That's really
That's
good,
awesome.
Man.
I make my living as a professional wrestler and as a promoter, and we didn't really talk about WSU, but there's a lot of big things planned for that, and we got that deadly doubleheader in July that we do quite often at the arena, and I'll be announcing a lot of WSU stuff very soon, and the arena show's coming too. Maybe you can't make Tournament of Death, but you got the Young Bucks and Beaver Boys, Team Tremendous. Drew Gulak takes on Nick Gage, Matt Tremont, and the Black G's for the CZW World title. Tim Dotson will be making his return to wrestling there. I mean, you're going to see Tim Dotson and Joe Gacy this weekend at Tournament of Death. They're going to be on hand. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and you've kind of already touched on some rumors and things, and we'll be hearing more about that very soon. And CZW Studios is going to be the future of the dub. It's our own network, and we're even going to be doing our live stuff there, hopefully, very soon. And, there's a lot of good things coming out of the Combat Zone, and
definitely, man.
There's a lot of other things behind the scenes that hopefully in the next few months we'll be talking about.
Definitely, man. Anytime you want to come back on, just let us know. Definitely.
I'll come on every day if you let me.
It can happen. But legitimately, not kissing ass or anything. I'm a CZW fan. You see me at the shows and everything. Congratulations on this, man. This is big, man. This is cool.
Yeah, this is huge.
Well,
this is awesome.
I think it's time to take it not just to the international audience. It's time to take it everywhere. And I think CZW, you know, you hear about the Ring of Honors and the TNAs of the world, and you know, now Global Force Wrestling is a big thing. You know, Ring of Honor wouldn't be around if it wasn't for CZW, and you know, there's a lot of things that people don't know. It's yes, and you hear me say that. It's, you know, it kind of was started by RF and John Zandig, and a lot of their talents were made in CZW. And, you know, look at their top guy now. Their top guy now is Jay Briscoe. Wonder where he's from, you know? Yeah. Or better yet, Adam Cole, CZW Academy graduate. Talks about it all the time. It's, you know, there are plenty of guys there. AJ Styles was here before there. You know, I mean, AJ Styles introduced me to my wife, for Christ's sake. You know, that's the relationships that we have with these guys. And it's a weird thing of how the wrestling business works, and I think it's time for us to kick down the door, say, world, this is CZW. Check us out. Here's what it is. And now we're going to give you. There's no reason. $10 a month. Like I pay more than that for my gym membership, and I don't even notice it. But you're going to watch CZW anytime, you know, or WSU, whatever you're into, as well as original content, as well as I'm going to be busting my butt to get more content on there, And there's so many platforms now, so many things we're going to do, guys. It's all going to just come down to business and money, and hopefully, you know, the cards fall right. And as I said, there's some other big things coming in the works, and you'll hear me talk about that in July. And I'll have some big things to announce. And it's lots of great stuff. So you know, hopefully we'll be doing some more road shows too. You know, I know New York's in the works. You know, so I plan on going back there, plan on going back to Dayton, Ohio, maybe down south again, maybe north of the border. You know, we always do our European tour. I know we got some Japan stuff lined up as well as some Mexico stuff. So it's a lot of good things happening around here for a lot of good people, you know. And I'm on a rant, so I apologize, but I do want to say this. I got the best roster and the best guys behind the curtains in the business, man. It's I can't do it without them. I can't do it without the guys in that ring, and I can't do it without the guys behind the scenes that really make CZW happen and really make it work.
Well, you definitely have a good point. I mean, these are facts. You can check on me. Adam Cole, CZW, like you said. The Briscoes, CZW. You know, definitely right. Sami Zayn, look at him. You know, El Generico, CZW.
Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Cesaro, Kalisto. Bull Dempsey's been here. I love Bull Dempsey.
You guys had C.J. Parker. You were the first one that had C.J. Parker. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, you know what's funny? C.J. Parker called me. Nice. I didn't call him. He called me. He had some crazy ideas. Like, C.J. Parker will be back in the Combat Zone very soon. And he has some crazy ideas that I'm trying to find a way to pull off. So, you know, anyone wants to dump a lot of money my way so I can make great wrestling, you know, and make it better than I am. I'm all about it, but I could use the help, but he has some crazy ideas that I hope to make happen in the future. And that guy right there, you know, CJ is like, man, WWE's really missed the boat on that guy. That guy, he's got it all, man. He's super talented.
Yeah, that seems
super great guy. I love him.
Yeah, that seems to be the case quite often. But hey, man, anytime you want to come back on, any announcements, or you have anything you'd like to plug, definitely come on. We'd love to have you on.
Absolutely.
Love to come back on before the July show, guys, and talk about that. Fans, you know, definitely check these guys out. They're good guys. They work really hard to make this happen and put on a great show.
Definitely, man. When you launch the network, if you ever want anybody on the podcast, man, you know, we're here. Make this happen.
Hey, just tell me who you want. We'll find a way to make it happen. Most guys, 90% I can do. Some guys can be rough. But,
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's not always easy to get guys to do stuff. But thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. Guys, thanks for listening.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you.
I'll see you this weekend. I'll be there. And Tournament of Death once again this Saturday. Check it out. Townsend, Delaware.